Greetings, philosophers, to part 4 of our complete deep dive back into the world of Plato, a thinker whose ideas still shape how we see the world. In our first episode, we explored the historical sweep of ancient Greece, from its early city-states to the chaos of the Peloponnesian War. In episode 2, we immersed ourselves in the cultural heartbeat of Greece, its epic poetry and tragedies that fired Plato's imagination. Last time, in episode 3, we navigated the political storms of Athens, where war and the death of Socrates left Plato questioning democracy itself. Today, in episode 4, we're finally meeting Plato himself, his life, his writings, and how the history, culture, and politics of his world shaped his revolutionary ideas. Picture a man wrestling with a broken city, dreaming of a better one, and writing dialogues that would echo for centuries. Let's step into Plato's story. We begin with Plato's life, born around 427 BCE into a wealthy aristocratic family in Athens. This is a city buzzing with ideas but battered by war. Plato's childhood is marked by the Peloponnesian War, a grinding conflict that sees Athens' golden age crumble. He's from the elite, his relatives are big players in Athenian politics, but he's not just a spoiled aristocrat, he's curious, restless, drawn to big questions. As a young man, he falls under the spell of Socrates, a philosopher unlike any other. Socrates doesn't write books or give lectures. He roams Athens, asking piercing questions about justice, truth, and the good life. For Plato, meeting Socrates is like a lightning bolt. This is the man who shows him that philosophy isn't just talk, it's a way to live. But Plato's world is rocked in 399 BCE, when he's in his late 20s. Socrates is put on trial, accused of corrupting Athens' youth and disrespecting the gods. It's a political hit job, a way to silence a man who challenges the status quo. Socrates refuses to back down, defending his life of questioning, and the jury sentences him to death by hemlock. Imagine Plato watching his mentor, his hero, drink the poison, calm and resolute. This moment changes everything. Socrates' death isn't just a personal loss, it's a condemnation of Athens' democracy, a system that kills its wisest citizen. Plato's disillusionment runs deep, and it fuels his lifelong quest to find a better way to live together. After Socrates' death, Plato doesn't stay in Athens. He travels, seeking answers in a world beyond his broken city. He visits places like Megara, Egypt, and Sicily, where he encounters different governments, tyrannies, oligarchies, democracies, all flawed in their own ways. In Sicily, he gets tangled up with the court of Dionysius I, a tyrant ruling Syracuse. Plato tries to influence Dionysius, hoping to turn him into a wise ruler, but it's a disaster. The tyrant's no philosopher, and Plato barely escapes with his life. These travels, though, aren't just adventures. They're a crash course in politics and human nature. Plato sees that power without wisdom leads to chaos, a lesson that shapes his philosophy. Back in Athens, around 387 BCE, Plato does something revolutionary. He founds the Academy. Think of it as the world's first university, a place where young minds gather to study philosophy, mathematics, and the stars. The Academy isn't just about learning facts. It's about training people to think, to question, to seek truth. This is Plato's response to Athens' failures, a place to build leaders who value wisdom over power. The Academy lasts for centuries, influencing thinkers like Aristotle and beyond. It's Plato's way of saying, if the world's broken, let's fix it with ideas. Now, let's turn to Plato's writings, which are unlike anything before or since. He doesn't write dry treatises. He writes dialogues almost like plays where characters argue and probe big questions. These dialogues are vivid, human, full of wit and drama. His most famous work, The Republic, is a sprawling exploration of justice and the ideal society. Here, Plato imagines a state ruled by philosopher kings, men and women trained in wisdom, not swayed by ambition or crowds. He introduces the allegory of the cave, a haunting story about prisoners trapped in a dark cave, mistaking shadows for reality. It's a metaphor for how most of us live, blind to deeper truths, and philosophy is the way out. The Republic is Plato's dream of a world where reason rules, born from his distrust of Athens' democracy after Socrates' death. But Plato's not a one-hit wonder. In Phaedo, he writes about Socrates' final hours, exploring the immortality of the soul. It's a moving meditation on death and what lies beyond, inspired by his mentor's courage. In Symposium, Plato tackles love, with characters debating its meaning over a wild Athenian dinner party. It's here we get the idea of Platonic love, a love of beauty and truth that transcends the physical. Later works like Timaeus dive into cosmology, imagining how the universe was created, while Laws offers a more practical vision of governance. These dialogues aren't just philosophy, they're literature, weaving together the myths of Homer, the drama of tragedy, and the political failures Plato lived through. How did the history, culture, and political upheaval we've covered in this deep dive shape these writings? Start with history. The Peloponnesian War showed Plato a city torn apart by ambition and division. He saw Athens' democracy falter, swayed by emotion rather than reason. This is why the Republic rejects democracy for a system led by the wise. The cultural world of epic poetry and tragedy also leaves its mark. Plato's dialogues borrow the drama and storytelling of Sophocles or Homer, but he flips their script. Where poets glorify heroes, Plato glorifies reason. He criticizes poetry in the Republic, saying it stirs up dangerous emotions, but his own writing is poetic, ironic, full of characters who feel alive. And politics? Socrates' trial is the shadow over everything. It's why Plato distrusts the masses and dreams of a state where truth, not popularity, wins. What makes Plato's writing so remarkable is how they speak to his time and ours. He's not just reacting to Athens' chaos, he's asking questions we still wrestle with. What is justice? How should we govern? What's the point of life if we're just chasing shadows? His academy and dialogues are a call to think harder, to seek truth in a world full of noise. Socrates' death taught him that philosophy isn't a game, it's a matter of life and death. As we close, picture Plato in his academy, surrounded by students, arguing about justice under the Athenian sun. He's taken the history of war, the myths of poets, the failures of politics, and turned them into a vision of something better. That's his genius. In our next episode, we'll tie it all together. Plato's world and ideas fits in the history of philosophers in general. If this episode sparked something in you, drop a comment. What do you think drove Plato more, Socrates' death or his own dreams of a perfect society? Subscribe to the Philosophy Zone for our final chapter, and let's keep chasing the big questions. See you next time.